I think AI is a commodity, and every company, including Salesforce, has got to rethink their strategy. What do you think, Sri?
The broad market, his hesitation, is about, hey, they are waiting to see if AI is really being commoditized in enterprise.
Very true that, Sri. I think the markets are watching very, very closely.
You would not basically use AI to get a premium in terms of pricing or a cost for the customer, but instead you would use to reduce the cost of your product by using AI.
As a smaller software vendor, if I have all the capabilities at 90% discounted price, we are never probably ever going to get a price point of a $50 million software buy-in, ever.
Very much possible, Ramesh, this will require, companies to fundamentally rethink how you deliver and charge for services. At the end of the day, you're delivering services as a software.
Hi Ramesh, morning. How are you doing? Doing great, as usual.
Ramesh, last couple of days, I know in a part we spoke about the biggest marketing campaign. Looks like,
It paid off.
To whom?
It paid off. We're talking about, she's just has a dig on the biggest ever campaign that I spoke about the elections in India. Modi's biggest campaign was in Ayodhya, the marketing campaign. I think he still won. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
By what margin and all of those details are under the hood, but he still won.
Yeah, but I think, Ramesh, remember,
Prime
the
Minister
campaign was
Modi
Ayodhya.
is all set for a third tier.
Yeah, but they lost in Ayodhya, right? So which means that there is a moment there.
How
But
can you win against God? Right? You can't win against Ayodhya. So Lord Rama is you can't win. He's prevailing there, and so he just blessed.
well, anyway, I think I'm not sure, Ramesh, who won there, what won, but looks like the campaign didn't work. Another marketing campaign
yeah.
that fall flat. Right?
That's,
That note, I want to start with more interesting trend happening. I think last couple of weeks, Ramesh, has been full of trends, new things happening, and lot more things happening out there, right? And specifically, I want to talk about, will SaaS, specifically SaaS software companies, are they ready for the AI movement, right? I'm sure, Ramesh, you heard about the recent Salesforce earnings,
Yeah.
right? And not just the earnings.
Market is harsh.
Not just the earnings. Yeah, market is harsh, but not just the earnings, Ramesh. Right? There's a broader industry trend there, right? There's a lot to discuss there. I want to just go in deeper today, right? Let's start kind of unlocking some of these trends, right? So
Sure.
Let's start with the Salesforce. What do you think? What's happening there?
I think it's a transformational time, right? With generative AI, the last 1.5 years has completely changed the shift in which SaaS companies will work, or trying to reorient themselves. We spoke about a wrapper company versus being a native AI and all of that. AI is not new, but the way it's how quickly you're able to ship products is, so that becomes a big area. AI has become a commodity, right? Sri, in your past avatar as a product head and engineering head, you had a team of AI engineers. We don't have an AI engineer in this room, right? So AI is commoditized. Significant investments are being made by these companies, and that is getting passed on very easily to companies who want to have an AI first kind of an approach. I think the journey is about strategic timing right now, than just technological upgrades, right? When I say technological upgrades, we can't think about, the next, so you spoke about Salesforce. Einstein is probably still under the tree, waiting for the apple to fall, but others have already taken the apple and eaten it, right? So that's what I mean. In good jest, but I think AI is a commodity, and every company, including Salesforce, has got to rethink their strategy. What do you think, Sri?
I think you bring a very important point. I think it is. I would put it slightly different. I would say the enterprises seems to be waiting to see how AI landscape will become a commodity, right? And before they make a significant investment, I think the enterprises are going to wait and see how this is going to get commoditized, right? So the journey is, like you said, I totally agree with the fact that it's more of strategic timing is one important, and more to do with a fact that if you look at companies like Salesforce, I mean, Salesforce is an amazing company, right?
Absolutely.
If you look at the numbers, it is run by one of the best, the public market CEOs, right? And he's been, on top of almost all the waves. Maybe this time he's on the other side, right? And
Just to give the viewers about what's happening in the Salesforce results, can you just summarize it in a sentence?
I think if you look at their physical, the result for the Q1 for 2024, they, in fact, if you ask me, they showed a very strong revenue growth, right? Yet they marginally.
What does strong revenue growth
I mean, they pretty much did almost close to 13 billion in revenue, right? They just marginally did hit their numbers by about 30-40 million. Exact numbers we could share it on the
partial,
on the
a
notes.
decimal,
But
literally.
it is not. The market is reacting, heavily. Is not because of the numbers. Even though Salesforce strategy for the last 2-3 quarters has been heavily focused on AI-driven growth, right? The market is seeing a larger trend here. I would say,
Right.
The broad market, his hesitation, is about, hey, they are waiting to see if the AI is really being commoditized in enterprise.
Very true that. Very true that, Sri. I think the markets are watching very, very closely.
Yes.
There is a broader context. Of course, we're all talking about the macroeconomic slowdown in general.
Correct.
Definitely, we see it ourselves. Software budget is tightening, right?
Significantly.
Every company is re-looking at their software needs while buying it. We are seeing that enterprises are now questioning whether AI is a product that they are willing to pay a premium for. Because,
Very true.
you had Salesforce at a time when no one else had Einstein and its capabilities, right?
Correct.
AI is
Very
not
true.
new to
Very
Salesforce,
true. Very true.
but
Right.
right now, given the fact that it's a commodity, AI is able to reach every laptop. You don't need specialized machines or anything for data crunching, right?
Yeah.
So, are enterprise companies willing to pay a premium for AI? Is the question over here.
I mean, I think let me set the context, right? In fact, in terms of revenue numbers, just so that we see beyond the numbers. In fact, Salesforce had a phenomenal, the first quarter results for 2024. They did a $13 billion.
There you go, $13 billion.
At 11% year-on-year growth, right?
Yeah.
Which is, if you ask me, like, it's a very strong performance by any means, right?
And you have the best people in the company. You have someone like a Mark Benioff running this entire piece, the vision that he set.
Yes.
I mean, there's no question about anything else going wrong, but it's not about I don't think it's about the $40 million of a slip. The market cap has fallen down by a significant 20 billion.
Correct.
And it's not about the 40 million slip. It's more about, are companies willing to pay a premium for AI that Salesforce brings? I think that's where the question is.
Exactly. In fact, the emphasis is on the AI. In fact, Salesforce strategy in the last 3-4 quarters. We just looked at their last 3 quarters. The reports. In every quarter, they've been emphasizing on significant investment, integration with AI, and it's all about AI, bringing CRM plus AI, things like that. They were the one which came out after the OpenAI to say that the whole Einstein AI is going to be reset, and they have a platform where customers can do all of that. But you know what? The market is reacting not for the results, but more for their strategy going forward.
So, Sri, are you saying that we are in this interesting cusp of time when this is I call this a Siebel moment, right? Salesforce hitting Siebel's. Taking Siebel to the roads.
Yes.
The wave of cloud that came in.
Yes.
And now it's time for smaller companies. Do you think that's what you're alluding to? Because if you're saying AI is getting commoditized, if I'm saying that are enterprise companies still ready to pay a premium for AI that comes with the software, what does it mean? No, there is time for newer startups, companies that are able to go. And not everyone is going to survive this wave as well.
Yeah, Ramesh, I would put it in 3 key points, right? I would say definitely the market is really watching closely. When I say market, it includes both the public investors and the enterprise.
Yeah, of course.
But there are 3 factors here, right? If you look at it, number 1 is there is a macroeconomic slowdown. Whether we see it or not see it is a different problem. But there is a macroeconomic slowdown, right? Number 2, right? The software budgets are tightening as a result of that.
Right.
And number 3, which is even more important, is that everybody's going to wait and watch to see if Gen AI is a product that people are willing to pay a premium for.
Yeah.
Right. Very, very important. For example, if you look at the strategy from most of the incumbent, SaaS companies, they try to make AI as a premium feature. Right. It is not. It is still. It's going to take some time.
As compared to Gen AI companies
Yes.
that have it already embedded.
They're built as a
they're
native
built.
AI
Yeah.
company, then which means that you would not basically use AI to get a premium in terms of pricing or a cost for the customer, but instead you would use to reduce the cost of your product by using AI, because you would be able to do a lot more in terms of functionality and deliver more value as less cost.
Okay.
So that's I would say that's the problem, right? And that is where the market is waiting for. Because in addition to that, like I said, hey, there is two other problems where there is a macro slowdown, economic slowdown, right? There is as a result of the macro slowdown, there is going to be, cost tightening, on the budget, right? And now the enterprise and the market is going to wait and see if AI really is going to be a premium capability feature which the customer will be willing to pay, or
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I clearly don't think so, because, Chamath from the All In podcast kind of puts it very beautifully.
Absolutely, right.
And he calls it 80-90ing it. What it means is
Right.
you get 80% of the features at 90% discounted price.
Right.
Right. Which means to your point, the newer Gen AI companies that are coming, the software companies that are coming, I think executives have to go back to their seat, to the boardroom, and figure out, should we buy a software as expensive as Salesforce, or can we just get an alternative which provides probably 80% of the features at 90% of the cost?
Yeah.
Right. So
very true, Ramesh. That what you mentioned is very, 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 very relevant in the current space, right? So we have seen this in the previous waves, right? When the monolith software were replaced by Siebel, right? And then subsequently, by the
Salesforce.
by the cloud software. What was common was there was the 80, the 90 factor played in always, right? Where you would offer more functionality for lesser cost. Now, with AI, a lot of the incumbent software companies are trying to do the reverse, where they're trying to put a premium for AI capability. It will take time, because I will tell you there's a fundamental problem as well, because these companies are also structurally not set up for this, right? To basically operate at a lower cost and offer more functionality.
Yeah.
So as a result, like always, we end up in our part by saying that it's an opportunity for a startup. This is amazing opportunity for a startup who's trying to build up in the new AI era.
Right.
Where you should be able to offer 80% of the capabilities at 90% lesser cost.
Or the other way around, if I look at it, interesting that you say that. You think Gen AI has made it so much so easier that a company like ServiceNow, with all the customer data that is available, is making its foray into the CRM market. This was a news a couple of months back, right? Where Salesforce is now looking at building a CRM.
Salesforce, like
ServiceNow.
human service now. Yep, everybody will do pretty much everything, because there's the barrier for entry is pretty low. It all depends upon what you offer as functionality. But I would see this as a significant, represents a significant shift in how value and the functionality are delivered in SaaS. I will go to the extent where
I think what's going to happen as we predict this coming,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We spoke about our own company, HighPerformr, and I'm hoping that we're there. And this shift that you said, big companies,
Yes.
monolith companies
Yes, yes.
are probably moving away, and there are newer generation companies which offer 80% of those capabilities and 90% at a discounted price of that. So the result of which is going to be this big shift that you said, companies that are more agile, right? Companies who have able to build 80% of the capabilities that are there, make cheaper and more functional software, right? They should be able to get this much faster. And as a result, what we will also be able to see is there are not going to be companies who are going to buy software worth $50 million or $100 million, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's going to be the other side of it.
Yeah,
If I am as a software vendor, as a smaller software vendor, if I have all the capabilities at 90% discounted price, we are never probably ever going to get a price point of a $50 million software buy-in ever. That is going to happen, right? So
because the value what you would get is what is being questioned, and there's uncertainty in what you could get, right? Because the enterprises are going to wait and to see what values will unlock.
Correct.
Right? So, I mean, I want to just restate my point saying that, hey, this is going to be a shift, right? This would definitely represent a significant shift in how a value and the functionality are delivered in SaaS. There are way too many SaaS companies, out there in the market. There's like hundreds of SaaS companies for every product, and the incumbent softwares, for them to transition into a native AI is going to take time. They are not structurally set up. Right, and more importantly, Ramesh, there's one more important
Hey, you make an important part before I pull you down. You're saying the companies are not structurally set up.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I'll tell you why. Right. For example, the third point which I want to mention is that, right, where the evolution of a consumption model is very important for us to understand, right? Which means what it means is, hey, we will likely move. We're going to see companies move away from a seat-based model to a more of a consumption-based model because it's an AI-based.
And you think existing software vendors cannot change to that?
Because I think structurally the GTM.
What do you mean by structurally?
For example, in a GTM today, you have a GTM team, you have a business development person, there is an AE, the structure, how you generate lead. Everything is basically based on a cost per seat, and then everybody's intent to increase the number of seats.
So you mean economically speaking?
Economically. So how do you get a $500 million contract? How do you even
It's not going to be possible. That's what we.
How do you even get $1 million contract, right? The way you do that, you go after large Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, and get for maybe 2,000 seat deals. That's how we've been perceiving.
Great.
Now we might have to look at alternate models. How do you look at consumption model, right? Something which is being done by companies like AWS, right? Or you need to figure out companies which have done that and learn from them and see how AI-based software and functionality delivered could switch from a seat-based model into a consumption. Because I don't know, Ramesh, I'm just seeing these things as a reason. Because end of the day today, companies like Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, all these large companies, right, who are looking to close $1 million deals are looking for large companies who can offer them hundreds of seats, right? And the larger question to be answered there is that, hey, in the current AI-based setup, even that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a startup, you should definitely look at alternates. If your product is basically a very native AI-based already, you should start looking at, do we have options to have a pricing model which is consumption-based? I'll keep it there, but
right.
Ramesh, these are some of the changes. You're at a time where, Ramesh, some of these things are the changes we need to adapt quickly. And you need to, as a startup, you need to adapt to this much faster than anybody else so that you could survive.
Very, what do you say? She is extremely bullish about a strategic recalibration that's happening across companies and startups while you're procuring software, and also looks at this as an opportunity, right?
Of course.
When larger players, like you said, Salesforce and Workday, have to recalibrate now and think about, hey, what is the new way of hitting those $1 million? Is it going to be seat-based or is it going to be usage-based? That's a big shift, and that's just structural change that needs to be imbibed in the company. And while that happens, you're saying we will start looking at smaller players who bring in much more capabilities. 80% of the features would be covered at a discounted 90% of the price, right? And that's a
very much possible, Ramesh. This will require, companies to fundamentally rethink how you deliver and charge for services. At the end of the day, you're delivering services as a software. So we might have to go back and, these companies, including the startups like ours, have to fundamentally rethink how we could deliver and charge the services we offer.
I think the economies of scale is also going to differ, because you are not going to be hitting $1 million of revenue.
Yeah.
How can you even look at the compensation? This is probably different for a topic for a different part. But I think that's a fundamental change. And when you say that GTM teams have to recalibrate, structurally recalibrate their strategy against AI, I think this is going to be a crucial way. And correct. It's not going to be easy for the existing people out there.
Yeah, it is going to be a learning, Ramesh. Next, I would say 5 to 10 years. I mean, we're going to be, learning a lot. Even include, if you look at, Salesforce is a formidable player.
Absolutely.
By no means, right? And it's very crucial to acknowledge that, they might find themselves in the other side of the wave this time. It is possible, right?
That is interesting. You're making a very tall claim. You're
making a
tall prediction.
I looked at their, the forecast. They've gotten sub 10%, right? So time can only answer, but we'll see.
All right. She talks about a sub 10% growth for a company like Salesforce, which is worth more than hundred of billions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the next decade, Ramesh, it is definitely going to be, you're going to see a lot more startups, coming in, disrupting the market with more functionality with less cost.
Right. I think there's 80-90ing it, as he says, is there. It's not just, it's just not a philosophy. It is real. And we will see a lot more companies getting into 80-90ing all of this and probably providing much more, the cost of the software is going to go down like crazy. And this brings us to an important point of how HighPerformr as a company is going to leverage this change. The good part is we're just starting up, so we have all the leverage.
So there is always opportunity, Ramesh. So that's what I'm saying, right? It's a reminder for ourselves.
Yeah.
A lot of our startup founders like ours. It's a period where there's a lot of opportunity, right? Specifically for founders like ours, right? So we have to keep pushing for innovation, right? And try to stay away from, kind of be out of the curve, right? And some of these, we have a lot to learn from these large companies like Salesforce. Look at the trends, see if we can try them, and see you could make it through.
Absolutely. I think that's it's been phenomenal. Week over week, the transformation, the changes that we are seeing in open source software like ChatGPT.
Absolutely.
Right? Two things that are
open software you're talking about, and the ChatGPT.
And ChatGPT, right? So I think we are in an era where product development is going to be at a rapid pace. You will be able to build features much more quickly. You will be able to, the time to value is going to be much more higher.
Faster.
Because faster as well, because every week you're able to change the screens in the software only because it's available. Like you said, it's a commodity, and we are going to see, we are in the midst of a massive transformation that's going to happen.
Right.
We are all going to witness that, and we will see how companies like us also 80-90 all across.
Absolutely, Ramesh. And thank you, thanks everybody for tuning in. I think don't forget to follow us, for more insights and discussions on new trends, new technology trends, which is transforming the world. So looking forward, exciting times.
Keep it going and subscribe to Reset to Zero. This is our podcast by Srivatsan and me, Ramesh Avishankar, trying to bring the latest to your desk and seeing how we can all grow together. Thank you.
See you in the next episode. Thank you.
Bye.